Hello and welcome back to Alice Talks Football, and welcome back to a live sort of crisis meeting discussion Manchester United therapy show after a humiliating 3-0 defeat to not only just Newcastle but Newcastle's B team. Newcastle had 4 fullbacks in their starting 11, not a single striker, had made 8 rotations from their main team ahead of the weekend, have as many players out injured as us. They come to Old Trafford and they absolutely outplay us. They're more clinical, they're better drilled, they try harder, and the levels between Manchester United and Newcastle yesterday was absolutely embarrassing. I saw one club with a really positive energy around them, going in the right direction, all the players giving 100%, and then I saw another club just falling apart, toxicity, waiting for the manager to be sacked. And unfortunately, dressing room leaks have come out against Ten Hag today. Loads of leaks have been reported by guess who, Samuel Luckhurst. And for me, I hate to say this, but I think Ten Hag's gone. I think that he is gone. I think he's on the road to being sacked. And I don't want him to be sacked because I'm fed up with changing a manager every 2 years. And I think changing a manager is not going to solve the problems at this club. I don't think sacking Ten Hag is going to make anything better. But I think Ten Hag is gone because I know this club. I know this news. When there's leaks coming out against Ten Hag, when we're losing games like that, the manager is done. And I hate to say that, but the players were walking and strolling at times. These players aren't playing for the manager. The dressing room is gone. The toxicity, the leaks, rumours I'm hearing that hasn't come out publicly yet, but I'm hearing some things of some player arguments behind the scenes. I'm hearing a lot of negative things about things going on behind the scenes that I'm trying to get some more information on before I can reveal. It's a complete mess. A complete and utter mess behind the scenes. The dressing room is gone, and these players aren't playing for Ten Hag. And now we've got these anti-Ten Hag leaks coming out, these anti-Ten Hag briefings. And I'll be honest with you, I think this is the end of the road for Ten Hag. I think this is the beginning of the end, and I don't want it to be the beginning of the end. As Diego's put in the chat, Fletcher up next, because if we get rid of Ten Hag, we don't have the money to bring anyone else in. It will be Darren Fletcher till the end of the season. And I tell you what, I don't want Darren Fletcher to the end of the season. You know, we sacked Ollie. Did things get better when Ragnick came? And not at all. In fact, things probably got worse. You know, people will say sack Ten Hag and what? We can't bring in De Zerbi. We can't bring in Pep. We can't bring in Klopp. 1, this manager doesn't want to come to United. 2, we can't afford this manager. 3, we aren't able to bring in this manager. You know, there's no one that we can at least bring in till the summer. What's the point in sacking Ten Hag and going with an interim to the end of the season when actually Ten Hag's not the biggest problem at this club? Ten Hag, I'm not happy with. The tactics are dreadful at Manchester United. Everything is bad at Manchester United, and Ten Hag's been tactically outclassed and seems to be getting every decision wrong. But, you know, these players are an absolute disgrace. You sack Ten Hag, you put in an interim, these players still won't give a crap about this club. They still won't pay for the badge. You know, things need to change at this club. And unfortunately, instead of the board being sacked, instead of some of the players being sacked and kicked out, unfortunately, it will be the manager that's sacked, because that is the easy option. Every time it is the manager that gets sacked instead of the board, instead of the players, because that is the easy option as well. And look, the Glazers win if he leaves / sacked. I mean, potentially I don't think the Glazers do win because they have to spend money replacing him. But we will talk about Varane. A lot of question marks about what's going on with Varane as well. Apparently he's picking fights with Varane. No, I've just heard that Varane is ill. I've just heard that Varane's ill. I haven't heard that Varane's had a big fight with a manager. There is a rumour going on that Ten Hag's had a big fallout with Varane, but I think that is just someone trying to stir the pot, if you get what I'm saying. I don't think that there's been some big fallout with Eric Ten Hag and Varane, because Eric Ten Hag said that Varane was ill, and it is that time of the year where a lot of people are getting ill. I've been ill, so I don't think there's much in those Varane rumours, to be honest with you. I think it's people trying to spread negativity because, you know, clicks, views, that stuff. But unfortunately, there is a lot of negativity going about. There is a lot of leaks breaking. There is increasing unrest among a number of Manchester United players amid the team's plight this season. Dressing room sources have told the Manchester Evening News doubts are growing over Ten Hag's management, and there is simmering resentment among certain players towards teammates. Some players are also unimpressed with the general direction of the club as its strategic review enters 12 months. So some people are unimpressed with the general direction of the club. As Fabrizio Romano said, the takeover has caused negativity around United. Fabrizio Romano has confirmed that the takeover, the ongoing situation, those at the top has been affecting the players, has been affecting the manager. It's caused a lot of toxicity and a negative environment. But I want to get into this because this isn't the only thing Samuel Luck has said. Samuel Luck has said a few things about Ten Hag's management, players turning on Ten Hag and stuff. And I have to say, Samuel Luckhurst I feel like he's scraping the barrel with his journalism at the moment. I'm going to be honest. I feel like he's scraping the barrel because every time we lose, every time things go wrong, Samuel Luckhurst comes out with the same dressing room sources. Oh, dressing room sources said this. Dressing room sources said that. And I don't know if there's any credibility in Samuel Luckhurst's stories anymore. I don't know if things are just negative. Players are playing bad, so he just makes up a story that they don't like Ten Hag and they're not playing for Ten Hag for clicks because, ride a negative wave. But it does feel like whenever things go wrong, whenever Man United are playing bad, whenever this is happening, whenever that is happening, we get a Samuel Luckhurst story come out saying, the players aren't playing for the manager, the dressing room is toxic and stuff. Samuel Luckhurst is spreading all this negativity about Ten Hag. He's saying himself he doesn't think that Ten Hag should be sacked, and he's saying that the players are an absolute disgrace. But you've got Samuel Luckhurst putting this story out about Ten Hag, that story out about Ten Hag, and apparently, the players aren't even interested in playing for Ten Hag because he has favourites. And I just think that this is just, for me, this is why this club is so toxic. This is another reason why this club is so toxic. Some players feel Erik Ten Hag tends to protect perceived favourites in the squad while rounding on others without naming them in public, aka he named Sancho in public, but not other underperforming players as well. And I'm so fed up with it. I'm so fed up with leaks. I'm so fed up with these stories. I'm so fed up with this drama. Whenever things go wrong at Manchester United, there's leaks, there's dramas, there's rumour, there's toxicity around the club. And it is just so toxic. And it's Samuel Luckhurst's negative brief. Players aren't playing for the manager. And to be honest, I'm not saying that Samuel Luckhurst is wrong, but I'm just fed up of this dressing room source said this, dressing room source said that business because I'm fed up of it. I mean, look, it doesn't take a genius to tell you these players clearly aren't playing for the manager. And it doesn't take a genius to tell you these players haven't been good enough this season. I don't know if you saw this statistic here, but this is goals scored by forwards this season. Newcastle's forwards have got 20 goals. Liverpool's forwards have got 19 goals combined. Brighton's forwards have got 16 goals combined. Man City's forwards have got 14 goals combined. Even Luton's forwards have managed 5 goals. Sheffield United's forwards have managed more goals than us. 1 goal. We are rock bottom of the Premier League for goals per forward. Sheffield United have been a bigger goal threat than us in attack. And you can say that's on Ten Hag, because part of it is on Ten Hag and his naive tactics. But you have to look at the bigger picture. This isn't just on Ten Hag and naive tactics. This is on lack of player effort. This is on players not following instructions. And this is on the awful recruitment at this club that is an absolute disgrace. You can say Ten Hag wanted Anthony. You can say Ten Hag wanted Mount. Ten Hag was just naming players he knows because he knows that we don't have recruitment that can go out and find players that suit his philosophy that not many people know of. We are spending £85 million on Anthony, and I'm trying to be positive because I generally felt like we looked like a better team when Anthony played in the team last season. But we are awful. We are dreadful. And Anthony doesn't even look like a £30 million player. And I'm not going to continuously gang up on Anthony because Garnacho's not been good enough, but he's young. Sancho's been absolutely dreadful. Rashford's been dreadful. It's not just about Anthony. I think he's 85 million. So he is the scapegoat in that sense. Like, none of the attack has been good. And I'm thinking, are we this bad? Are we seriously this bad as a football club? Because it's embarrassing as well. Saeed says Ten Hag needs to go, Alice. Enough is enough. I'm sticking with Ten Hag because I think these players are a disgrace, Saeed. I honestly do. I'm not happy with the football we're playing. Ten Hag's tactics are a disgrace. Ten Hag is playing like a fool and he's going to get himself sacked if he continues this way. But the reason I'm just still back in Ten Hag is because I don't think if we sack Ten Hag, we bring in an interim because we're too broke. I don't think an interim's going to turn this around. I thought Ragnick was going to turn it around after Ollie. He didn't. I don't think an interim's going to turn it around. I don't trust these players. They're an absolute disgrace. Not trying, waltzing around. And I want the recruitment. I want the people above Ten Hag gone. I'm not happy with Ten Hag, but the only reason I'm giving him faith is because of what he did at Ajax and the fact that he won the Carabao Cup and came third last season makes me think he isn't as bad as a manager as he looks right now. He needs to change things because if he doesn't change things, I will be Ten Hag out. He needs to make changes because this football is awful. There's no style of play, but these players. For me, I think these players will throw every single manager under the bus. I think the recruitment is a disgrace. That I just don't think sacking the manager changes it. Maybe that's just me, but I feel like we always sack a manager, and I just don't think it's going to get any better. I think there's so many issues right now, and if only we could just chop the Glazers off the top and bring in the Qataris. And that was the hope when things were bad earlier in the season. We're like, maybe Qatar will come in, maybe Qatar will save us. But now, I don't know what to do with this club as well. I don't know what to do. It won't change anything long term. Club is broken from top to bottom. Yeah, I mean, maybe you get an interim in, we get a new manager bounce. Short term, we improve because the football Ten Hag is playing is dreadful. But I just think long term, whoever replaces Ten Hag will come back in this cycle. Dressing room leaks, toxicity. I want the board sacked. I want the owner sacked. I want the people at the top of this club sacked. I want the owners gone. I want Murta gone, I want Arnold gone, I want every single person in recruitment gone, and then we can have discussions about Erik Ten Hag. But I want, can we sack some of the players as well? Can we sack some of the players? We've got over 407 people watching, so please do smash that like button, and of course subscribe down below if you're new. So keep Ten Hag and don't complain when you lose all your remaining games. Look, I get why people are Ten Hag out. The football was absolutely dreadful. But the only reason I'm not Ten Hag out is because I don't think changing a manager makes this stuff better. When these players aren't given effort, when I look at these players, I think for me, it goes beyond sacking the manager. I really do. I'm just fed up with this club. It's the same cycle every 2 years. I feel like it's the same cycle, and I feel like there's always, okay, we sack Ten Hag, things will get better. We drop this player, things will get better. And I think it's just the toxicity of the club. People were saying, oh, watch, we're going to play good football today because Rashford and Bruno aren't starting. Rashford and Bruno didn't start. We played Newcastle's B team, absolutely no excuse, and we didn't play good football. We hear this, okay, we're going to play, I think Rashford and Bruno can hold United back in certain ways because they are players that give the ball away a lot. But, people think, okay, you drop Maguire and you play Varane, we're going to miraculously get a million times better in defence. Martinez and Kobbie Mainoo come in the squad and we're going to be a million times better. Or you drop Bruno and Rashford and we're going to be a million times better. And we're just not. We're just this negative slump. It doesn't matter who starts. It doesn't matter who's dropped. It feels like a negative slump. And some of it is definitely down to Erik Ten Hag's tactics. In fact, a lot of it is probably down to Erik Ten Hag's tactics, the substitutions, the naivety. But when I saw our starting 11 and I saw Newcastle starting 11 before the game, I felt quite confident. That's the thing. I thought, okay, good starting 11, Mesbury, Mount, Casemiro, really good positive starting 11. Looked at Newcastle starting 11. I thought, we'll beat them, we'll take them. And we didn't beat them. We didn't take them. In fact, we're absolutely dreadful. And I can't get my head around it. I absolutely can't get my head around it. Thank you very much for the super chat, Tony. This has been years in the making and it will all come crashing down. Erik Ten Hag was to sell players. The owners refused to do so. We can't fire him. The cycle will continue and the players need to go. Big up, Tony, for the super chat. And this is the main reason I'm Ten Hag in, because I know how toxic this club is. I know how these players throw these managers under the bus. I am really not happy with Ten Hag. I am really not happy with the football we're playing. And I understand every bit of criticism Ten Hag is getting, because you look at Ange, you look at Eddie Howe, you look at Unai Emery, they're doing miles better, and we can't continue to make excuses for Ten Hag. But as Tony said, Erik Ten Hag wanted certain players gone, Maguire and McTominay. He wanted Maguire gone so we could bring in Kim Min-jae. He wanted McTominay gone so we could bring in Gravenberch. Imagine how much better we'd look with Kim Min-jae and Gravenberch. Do you know what I mean? Board wouldn't let him do that because they're incompetent at selling. We never got Frankie de Jong. And when he missed out on Frankie de Jong, instead of signing a player that's a similar profile to Frankie de Jong, because obviously he intended playing a possession-based style of football that would have suited Frankie de Jong, they go and get Casemiro in, and you wonder why we're playing counter-attacking football when we never signed a Frankie de Jong-esque midfielder. You can't tell me that Ten Hag came to United and thought, I'm going to play direct long ball when he was making his priority signing Frankie de Jong. He clearly wanted to build up in midfield. He clearly wanted to do something in midfield, and he clearly did not get the backing for that in the transfer window. Alex said, I would rather sack most of our players than sack Ten Hag. These players have down-tooled again and will down-tools again. They have thrown other managers under the bus and are a problem. Absolutely agree. How many managers have some of these players got through? 2, 3. Some of them are even on their 4th. You could count Ragnick. I think Luke Shaw's on his 5th. Now, I don't think Luke Shaw's a problem, actually. I think we'll get better when Luke Shaw comes back, because at least he can contribute and build up, and we can't do that at all. But it's a disgrace. Ferguson, did all that for United, and then it's just 10 years later, it's just been an absolute crap show. absolute crap show. Kobbie Mainoo will improve us, but I feel like we are sitting here thinking, okay, Kobbie Mainoo is going to make us so much better. We shouldn't be sitting there thinking some 18-year-old that's not properly played first-team football is going to turn things around. Kobbie Mainoo is a special player. I want him in the starting 11 because the starting 11 is so crap. But the fact that we're sitting here and we're hoping that Kobbie Mainoo is going to turn it around says it all. It doesn't matter the managers if the players don't try. Exactly. We got rid of Ollie. I wanted Ollie gone. And then I thought when we brought in Ragnick, we were going to get better, and we didn't. And then I realised, do you know what? I wanted Van Gaal sacked. I wanted Mourinho sacked. I wanted Ollie sacked. And it was when Ralph Rangnick came in that it opened my eyes. Because when Ollie was sacked and Ralph Rangnick was appointed, I thought that things were going to get better. It really convinced me that Ollie was the problem. McTominay was this massive problem. And I really convinced myself, okay, if Ollie's sacked, it's going to get better, and Ragnick came in and in fact it got worse. And that's when I opened my eyes to the fact that actually it's sometimes not about changing a manager. In fact, we've changed so many managers. Ten Hag might not be that guy, and tactically he needs to change, and maybe he's out of his depth at Manchester United. But I am willing to give him that time just so we can get rid of the players and those above him first. For me, get rid of those above and get rid of the players, and then we discuss Ten Hag's position. Because I just look at it and I think we sat manager after manager after manager, and I think the same problems will continue to come up until some of those players are gone, until those at the top of the club are gone. For me, I think, United were destroying careers of football players. I'm glad Bellingham didn't join United because he wouldn't be the Jude Bellingham he is today, and we destroy managers. Because Ten Hag's not a bad manager. Ten Hag played good football at Ajax. Ten Hag came in, turned us around after our worst ever season, got us to third place finish in the Carabao Cup, and things sort of went downhill in March time last season. We scraped out results, but we were still in a somewhat positive place. And now all of a sudden we're the worst team in the league. Absolute disgrace as well. Alice, look at it like this. We're a 5-star restaurant United. We hired a top chef to cook with limited ingredients for fans and expected a tasty meal. And you're absolutely right, Mick. At the end of the day, these players aren't good enough. These players are not as good as they think. Anthony is not as good as they think. Eric Ten Hag needs to be doing better because our starting lineup was a lot better than Newcastle's starting lineup. But these Manchester United players aren't that good. These Manchester United players are a disgrace. And you replace Ten Hag, and I think they'll throw the next manager under the bus. The players are giving up, not the manager. But the thing is, I'll be honest with you, Ten Hag will be the one getting sacked, not the players. The easy option for the Glazers is, okay, just bring in another manager. Instead of doing what needs to be done, Arnold, get out. Murta, get out. Selling loads of big first-team names. Doesn't matter who they are. When Pep Guardiola came into Man City, he could get rid of a lot of the big names. When, of course, Arteta goes into Arsenal, he could get rid of Aubameyang. Ten Hag needs to be allowed to get rid of the big names, get rid of the people that are causing problems in the dressing room, and the board should also be gone. The Glazers should be sitting there saying, Arnold, F off. Liverpool had one bad season and they already sat their Michael Edwards replacement. Serious club with crap owners. If I am the Glazers right now, I'm saying, screw it. I'm saying, Ten Hag, you are safe for the rest of the season. If I was Joel Glazer right now, this is what I'd say to Ten Hag. If I was Joel Glazer, I'd sell to Qatar. But realistically, if I was Joel Glazer right now, this is what I'd say to Ten Hag. I'm going to give you to the summer. No matter what the results are, I'm giving you to the summer. But you will keep your job in the summer if you play good football where I can see progress and you're tactically trying to implement something that I see we can build on. Then I won't sack you in the summer. If you continue playing the way you are now, this crap football with no style, no matter where you finish, I will sack you in the summer. If I'm Joel Glazer, I say to Ten Hag, it's not about where we finish anymore. It's about the football we see and the progress, and I want you to implement a style. And if you don't do that by the summer, I will sack you. Or if you don't do that enough where I can see that, we're a few signings away from building on it, I will sack you no matter where we finish. But I'm going to give Ten Hag to the summer, and I'm going to say to Ten Hag, I'm going to get rid of Arnold. I'm going to get rid of Murta. I will get rid of every big name player you want gone. You want Maguire gone, you want McTominay gone, they're off. You want Bruno gone, they're off. You want Rashford gone, they're off. You want Anthony sold, Mount sold already, they're absolutely off. Tell me who you want gone, I will get them gone. Tell me who you want, we'll try and get them in time by time. And we will back you if you show us that you are willing to start to play the football that got you the job in the first place, the football you played at Ajax. Even if these players aren't suited to that kind of football, coach them, train them, start focusing on intensity training, let's get to tactical work like Pep Guardiola does. That's what I do. That's what I do if I was the owner of Manchester United right now. And look, I'm Ten Hag in, but I won't make excuses for him. I tweeted this the other day. I said, Erik Ten Hag has a lot to be blamed for, but most of these players aren't trying at all. How can anyone turn it around in that situation? Exactly. And that's the thing. Erik Ten Hag's not been good enough, but yeah, we gave away such soft goals. What was the point of buying an Arnold for 50 million? We had a shot stopper keeper already. Why a distribution keeper if you can't save shy? I don't think Onana's the problem at United, to be honest. I think we've got way bigger issues. But I said this, you've got to give it to Newcastle. Newcastle turned up at Old Trafford, 4 fullbacks in their starting 11. You know, Kraft is a fullback playing centre-back. They've got Lewis Hall, who's about 18. They've got Livramento, who's been injured a year, playing at right-back. And they're playing Matt Target in midfield. They had 4 fullbacks in their starting 11 because of the amount of injuries they had. They didn't have a striker. Anthony Gordon was playing out of position at centre-forward. Newcastle rock up to Old Trafford with 7 of the 11 players in their starting lineup were there fighting for relegation under Steve Bruce. 7 of their 11 players were relegation-bound under Steve Bruce. 4 fullbacks in the starting 11, no striker. They rock up to Old Trafford and they win 3-0. And here I won't defend Ten Hag because Eddie Howe is playing with a team mostly of Steve Bruce players and coaching a 3-0 win at Old Trafford and getting that team to play the way he wants and implementing a style of play. I cannot excuse what Ten Hag's doing compared to Eddie Howe. But then you have to look at it and you have to be critical of Ten Hag. But you also have to say, were those players walking around? Did those players run around like headless chicken for 10 minutes and then give up and just stroll and let Newcastle walk the ball into the back of the net? Why was why was Willock allowed to have that much space and run that many yards? Why was Delowe strolling? And, you know, Ten Hag got it wrong. Ten Hag, it was a disgrace, I'll be honest. But, you know, when these players are not putting effort in, when these players have reputation for throwing manager under the bus, when the biggest problem at this club is still much higher than the manager, I don't care anymore. I will give Ten Hag to the end of the season because an interim, it will be Darren Fletcher. And if Darren Fletcher is the manager, we will not be any better. When Rangnick came in, we were not any better than Ollie. We don't have the money to go and get Unai Emery or Zidane or whoever you name. If you sack Ten Hag, and I'm being honest with you, we don't have the money, one, to sack Ten Hag. We don't have the money to bring in a replacement. If Ten Hag gets sacked, it is Darren Fletcher to the end of the season. Darren Fletcher is not a better manager than Ten Hag. Keep Ten Hag to the end of the season and tell Ten Hag he's got to the end of the season to turn it around. But tell Ten Hag, if you're Murtough, if you're Arnold, you will only keep your job at the end of the season if we can see a style of play, if we can see you're trying to implement something, because it's not about results anymore. I don't care if we finish 12th. I don't care if we finish 6th. You know, you know what? If we finished 12th this season, but towards the end of the season, Ten Hag was implementing a style of play, we were starting to look good, and Ten Hag got some good signings in the summer, and we had 1 game a week because we weren't in Europe, so Ten Hag had even more time to implement his system, which really helped Arsenal, which really helped Tottenham. I'm all for it. I'm all for finishing 12th if I start to see some good football, if I start to see some patterns of play, because then we can have 1 game a week next season and we can implement that even further, and maybe we could go on a good league run this season. I'd rather finish 12th and see some good football from Ten Hag than finish 6th and see this crap to the end of the season. Absolutely would. So I'm saying to Ten Hag, if I was Arnold, if that was Murtough, you got to the end of the season because we can't afford to sack you, and you know an interim of Fletcher's not going to be an improvement, and we want to give you time. It took Fergie 5 years, took Arteta a few years, but you only keep your job at the end of the season if we actually see that you're trying to play some good football, not this crap. I want you to drop the big names. I want you to play the youth. I want you to do what you've got to do to play the football that you want to play, and stop adapting for these players, because these players will sell them if you don't want them. They're not worth adapting to. That's what I say to Erik Ten Hag if I'm at the top of this club, because these players are a disgrace. And look, Man United were a complete embarrassment to Newcastle. No style of play, can't even do the basics. And look, Eddie Howe's absolutely showing up, Ten Hag. But I'll say this now, and I said this on Man United. I'm worried for Ten Hag. I really am, and I'm going to get into this. Thank you very much for the super chat. Thanks for the good content, miss. Big uproar. Really appreciate the super chat. Sorry for taking 3 minutes to read that out. I was in a little bit of a rant as well. But I said this here. I'm worried for Ten Hag. The dressing room is clearly in disarray, and we know what these Man United players are like when things go south. Instead of fighting to turn things around, they tend to give up and wait for another manager to be sacked. However, I've had enough of this pattern of sacking managers every 2 years. If only we could sack some of the players. Newcastle showed up at Old Trafford with their reserve team, making 8 changes from the weekend and outperformed us. Why? Because Newcastle's players give 110% regardless who's on the field, and they follow Eddie Howe's instructions. There's no excuses for the poor quality of football we're witnessing. promising. Ten Hag needs to improve tactically, as it appears he's making many wrong decisions. But if we were to sack him and bring in an interim manager, it's unlikely to lead to a better outcome. We'll end up with a similar situation to Ragnick 2.0. The problem is I fear that Ten Hag's tenure may be coming to an end because I'm familiar with the tendencies of these Manchester United players. It would take a miracle to inspire them to give their all and perform at their best. But I don't see how sacking a manager can make things better when some of these players are just as bad. And that was my thoughts. I think Ten Hag is done because I think the leaks have come out, these players have given up. And I don't think Ten Hag's going to turn it around. Not because I don't think he's capable of turning it around, but I think these players are an absolute disgrace. But I think at the end of the day, some of these players need to go. The owners need to go. There's so many things that need to go that I don't think sacking a manager improves things. And look, unfortunately, tomorrow we'll get anti-Ten Hag dressing room leaks. Samuel Luckhurst, what did he say this morning? Dressing room sources, I called it. I said it's going to get toxic again. But it's such a shame because in March, we'd won the Carabao Cup, we'd beaten Man City, we'd beaten Barcelona. Back in March, back in February, I thought Man United were on this really good direction. Beat Barcelona, beat Man City, Carabao Cup win, looked good, started to play. It wasn't amazing football, but we started to see better football than what we're playing now. We were seeing patterns of play, we were seeing style. You know, in February, Ten Hag had told us this dream. I thought we were back on track. But remember, as Roy Keane said about these Manchester United players, leopards don't change their spot. Roy Keane said this about the Man United players. Leopards don't change their spot. And what happens? We bring in a manager. We get top four with that manager. Things look good. Things look promising. You know, we brought in Mourinho. We won the Europa League. We brought in Oli. We finished second place, signed Ronaldo, Varane and Sancho and thought we were off to win the league the next season. We've come third under Ten Hag, won a trophy. And all of a sudden, things have gone wrong because leopards don't change their spots. Ten Hag needs to do things, but this is what happens when you've got those at the top of the club that don't change. You continue with poor recruitment. But when the going gets tough, these players give up. We can criticise Ten Hag's tactics, but you know what? Delo just standing there for the first goal, that's not Ten Hag's fault. That's the players' fault. You know, the lack of effort is the players' fault. So Ten Hag's tactics aren't right. But Roy Keane said it about these players. Leopards don't change their spots. These players are the same players that threw Ragnick under the bus, threw Oli under the bus, threw Mourinho under the bus. These are the same players that give up every time the going gets tough. Rather than fighting for the badge, they're on 300 grand a week. It's clearly not their fault. They're too good to play for United. Ten Hag's clearly the problem in their eyes. They give up. These players think they're better than they are. These players are spoiled. The fact that Jadon Sancho won't apologise just tells you everything you need to know about the spoiled attitude of Man United players. These players think they're 10 times better than they are. When things go wrong, these players think it was Ten Hag's fault. These players convince themselves it's not because they're not trying. It's not because maybe they're actually not good enough to play for a club like Manchester United. It's Ten Hag's fault. Let's just not try and get the manager sacked. That's what these players do when the going gets tough, and they know it works because manager after manager after manager's been sacked. And I am absolutely fed up with this. Absolutely fed up with these players who don't try, because these players are playing for Manchester United. This is a historic club. People died for this club. You know, people actually died playing for this club. People would give everything for this club. Under Fergie, even if Roy Keane, who was our most important player, fell out with Fergie, the dressing room would stick with Fergie and go screw Roy Keane. And Roy Keane was a legend of this club. And then we have these players right now who are on 300 grand a week, who go and stop and put out paragraphs on social media when things go wrong. I don't care about your paragraphs on social media. I don't care if you think that Ten Hag's being strict or you think that Ten Hag's training sessions are too intense. I don't care, because you are not playing for the badge. When you wear the Manchester United shirt, a shirt that's been worn by legends, icons, heroes in the game. Bobby Charlton wore this shirt. Cantona wore this shirt. Ronaldo wore this shirt. Rooney wore this shirt. Scholes wore this shirt. Real people wore the shirt. Icons, legends, people in the game. And then you see some of these dummies wearing these shirts. Like, they don't realise the importance of this shirt. They don't realise the importance of this club. It's embarrassing. Absolutely embarrassing. How can you put on the Man United shirt and decide not to try? How can you put on the Man United shirt because you want and not try because you think, you know, the manager needs to be sacked? Because no, the players need to take a look at themselves and go, yes, maybe Ten Hag's tactics are naive, but Ten Hag got us third last season. Ten Hag won the Carabao Cup. Ten Hag won 4 trophies in a row of Ajax, and Ajax is struggling now without Ten Hag. Ten Hag is clearly a competent manager that is making a lot of wrong decisions at the moment because his job is on the line, and he's taking it game by game instead of trying to implement the system. Ten Hag is getting a lot wrong. But if you are the players, you've got to go, you know what, this is a competent manager. Things were really good last season. You've got to look at yourself and go, the manager is competent, he's getting a lot wrong, but we're going to ride it out with him and we're going to give 110% to make sure he turns it around. But unfortunately, these players have put on their giving up hats and aren't willing to give 110%, and it absolutely winds me up as well. Thank you very much, Tony, for the super chat. We overperformed last season and it raised the expectation of this season. If we were bad last season, then more players would have been sold. We definitely overperformed a bit last season because Liverpool were nowhere near their best. Spurs were nowhere near their best. Chelsea were absolutely dreadful. I think that helped. I think we did overperform a little bit last season because towards the end we were grinding out results. And maybe the expectation was too high. But there's no doubt in my mind that we saw enough last season to convince me that Ten Hag's a capable manager. Sancho will outlast Ten Hag and then come back into the team. That's what is criminal. He is the sort of toxic player that will want Southgate to take over. Well, Southgate kicked Sancho out for bad attitude problems, so maybe not, but I get your point. Let me just take a drink of water. I absolutely get your point. I absolutely get your point with what you're saying. The fact that, Jadon Sancho will probably outlast Ten Hag says it all about the toxicity at this club. And I think the title is the leaks are coming out, so Ten Hag's going to be sat before the board. And I understand why people want Ten Hag sacked. I understand every little bit of frustration with Eric Ten Hag and the football we're playing. It's not good enough. It's an absolute disgrace. But are you telling me that you would sack Ten Hag before you'd sack Merton, before you'd sack Arnold, before you'd sack Sancho? I think you're crazy, because there's a lot of problems at this club. And there's a manager that's getting a lot of things wrong, a lot of things tactically wrong. Ten Hag is not getting a lot of things right. And there's a lot of problems at Manchester United. But I'm telling you this now. Eric Ten Hag, sacking him isn't going to just all of a sudden, people forget this. If you sack Ten Hag, Darren Fletcher comes in, interim to the end of the season. It's going to be a wave to the end of the season. You write the season off. If you sack Ten Hag now, you write the season off and we're back in another rebuild. If you keep with Ten Hag, there's the hope that he could show some promise towards the end of the season so we can continue on this rebuild and give him time. Like Arteta, Fergie took 5 years. Do you know what I mean? For me, I'm fed up with this sacking the manager cycle. I really am. Sack the manager this, sack the manager that, sack the manager this, sack the manager that, and then what? We're always sacking manager after manager after manager after manager. It's so infuriating. Absolutely so infuriating. And I just think it's a cycle. These players are a problem. These players are a massive problem at this club as well. And a lot of them need to go as well. It's the leaks, the toxicity. And I said, look, I think Ten Hag is finished. I don't want Ten Hag to be finished. I want Ten Hag to succeed, but I think he's finished. I think he's done. I think he will be sacked because it's the easy option for the Glazers. Sack Ten Hag before the board. It's the easy option for the Glazers. It's always the easy option. And the reason I think he's going to keep his job for a little bit longer than some people may hope is because we don't have the money to sack Ten Hag as well. Anthony said he'd give Ten Hag a new contract to show the players who's boss. That would be a big move. That would be a dangerous move, but you know what? What they need to do is tell the players that Ten Hag is boss. If I am Murta and Arnold right now, this is what I'd do. Generally, this is what I'd do. I'd go in the dressing room and I'd sit every Man United player down and I'd sit Ten Hag down. And I would, if I was Arnold and Murta right now, I'd say, this manager will be here to the end of the season, no matter if we get relegated, no matter if we're 11th, no matter if we're second. This manager will be here to the end of the season because we have had enough of sacking managers. I don't care if we are 17th. I don't care if we are 16th. This manager will be here in May. But some of you will not be here after May. Some of you in the summer will not be here. We are happy to sell any single one of you that doesn't want to give 100%, that doesn't want to try and turn things around with this manager. We're happy to sell any of you in the summer. We were backing the manager to the summer because we are not getting an interim. He is going to be here till May. So it's up to you to turn it around now or you'll all be out in the summer. That's what I'd say to the players. And then the players would realise, crap, this time it's different. This time we can't have a strop, lose 4 or 5 games in a row and get the manager sat like we did under Ollie. This time we're going to have to turn it around. And maybe they'd start to put some effort in because you can't tell me they're trying to get him sacked as well. You sacked Ten Hag, they'll give you a Band-Aid poster like Rooney. I mean, honestly, I don't know what's going on with this club as well. So Jim must support Ten Hag. Well, so Jim's talking about bringing in Graham Potter, and honestly, I'd rather have Ten Hag than Graham Potter as well. Stop talking about sacking the manager. I don't want the manager sacked, but I ultimately think he will be sacked as well. Wan-Bissaka injured out of thin air because he and Sancho are good mates. No, Wan-Bissaka generally got injured Like Ten Hag's got a good relationship with Wan-Bissaka. There's rumours and speculation going around that Ten Hag going to fall out with Varane, Ten Hag going to fall out with Wan-Bissaka, all of this. But when things get negative, when things go bad at United, there's always a lot of problems as well. And people are saying, Ten Hag's had a big rift with the players since pre-season. Ten Hag fell out with Wan-Bissaka this, Ten Hag fell out with Varane this as well. But I have to say, it's just, I think a lot of the news coming out, a lot of the leaks coming out, it's just negativity. It's just negativity because it's like, okay, things are negative at United. I'm a journalist. Let's pile on the negativity for clicks. It was said new dressing room sources say there are doubts growing over Ten Hag's management and there is simmering resentment among certain players towards teammates. Samuel Lutkoster said there's a lot of teammates are not getting on and a lot of teammates do not like Ten Hag. Some players feel that Ten Hag tends to protect other players and there's favouritism and that players are turning on Ten Hag because of favouritism. And Melissa Reddy said that Manchester United have insisted every permanent signing was on their scouting radar separately from Ten Hag's desire to recruit them, which again just highlights how bad the recruitment is at Manchester United. And look, for me, the news is boring, the leaks is boring, the information coming out is absolutely boring. But I have to say, this club is a mess. This club is an absolute mess. And I want to show you something that I think it was tweeted by Phil, who made a really good point here. I want to show you a good point here. And this is what winds me up about this club. And this is one of the main reasons I am Ten Hag in. Even after the crap performance, the fact that we lost to Newcastle's B team, the fact that we were tactically outclassed, you've got to hold Ten Hag accountable to some extent. But this is, for me, one of the main reasons that I am going to still be Erik Ten Hag in. And I think Phil summed it up perfectly here. He said, United always sack the manager because that's much easier than putting a proper structure in place that gives the manager every chance of success. Joel Glazer did not want to dilute his power, and no serious director of football will work under conditions like that. The club is an internal dysfunctional mess because winning football games is not the most important thing to the people who run it. If United appointed Guardiola, he'd find himself in the exact same position. And I think he's spot on with this. I think he's absolutely spot on with this. I think he's hit the nail on the head. Ten Hag will be sacked. I know Ten Hag's getting sacked because I know these players, I know these leaks. This is a cycle. Ten Hag will be getting sacked. But that's because it's the easy option. They don't want to put a proper structure in place. They don't want to give up some of their power. They don't want to run this club properly. No. That's not what we do. That's not what us Glazers do. We'll sack another manager. Or instead of going, you know what, let's get rid of these players. You know what, let's get rid of these players, spend a bit of money and have a proper rebuild, 10 out, 10 in. As Rangnick said, this is 10 out, 10 in. You've got to rebuild this club, 10 out, 10 in, open heart surgery. Instead of doing what Rangnick, who's built clubs successfully and knows how to build clubs, told them what to do, 10 out, 10 in, completely change the structure. Joel Glazer won't do that. Joel Glazer doesn't want to give up power and recruit a proper director of football. Joel Glazer doesn't want to do that 10 out, 10 out, 10 out, 10 in, like 10 in, like Rangnick suggested, because that, too much money to spend. Joel Glazer will do the easy option and he'll just sack another manager because it's so easy to blame the manager when things get toxic at United. I was very negative towards Ollie in his final months. I was Ollie out. And you know what? I apologise to Ollie. I still think Ollie should have been sacked because I don't think he was a good enough manager to manage United. But I was so toxic towards Ollie. And that's what they want. They want us fans to turn on the manager. They want the heat to turn on the manager. Joel Glazer wants the heat to turn on the manager and will just continuously sack managers and sack managers and sack managers instead of doing what needs to be done at United. That's what they do. That's what our owners are like. And I'm absolutely fed up of it. Absolutely fed up of this toxic environment at this club. Ten Hag is an easy escape route. Go back to Ajax. I don't think he should go back to Ajax. I think the easy option is sacking Ten Hag. The hard option is actually doing what needs to be done and what's needed to be done the last 10 years and put in a proper structure. You sack Ten Hag, we'll probably get someone like Southgate or Graham Potter. There's no managers want to come to United. People don't realise this. People are like, oh, sack Ten Hag, bring in Zidane. Zidane doesn't want to come to United. You know how we ruin players? We ruin managers as well. Problem is the players know they're in a strong position. They know the club can't afford to take such losses and bin off most of the squad, which is true. You could say the same though. Ten Hag could be in a strong position because we're too broke to sack him as well. If you're not listening to the manager's rules and principles or what job instructions have been given to complete, if you don't do it, you get sacked, right? Exactly. So for me, sack the players. The players need to be sacked as well. The Glazers need to go. I mean, smash the like button if you want the Glazers gone more than anything. The Glazers need to be the first people gone as well. And when you have a bunch of idiots who think they're better than the manager, the club is gone. And that's the problem. We can criticise Ten Hag. We can criticise Ten Hag's tactics. We can say maybe Ten Hag's out of his depth because the football we're playing is abysmal and there's no excuses for us to be that bad. But you also have to look at the players who've done this under manager. You also have to know that, and if you know and you follow Ten Hag in his career, you know that he's not a bad manager. You have to look at everything at Manchester United. You have to look at the whole situation. You have to look at the whole scenario and go, you know what? It's not about sacking managers anymore. That's the easy option. That's the easy option. And I don't even think it's the easy option because you sack Ten Hag, it's Darren Fletcher to the end of the season. Who wants Darren Fletcher to the end of the season? It's not about sacking managers anymore. We're toxic FC. We're dressing room leaks FC. We're in an era, Scott said it here, we're in an era where players have too much control and influence over clubs' decisions. We need to let them know he's boss as well. Since Ten Hag left Ajax, they've hit rock bottom. So to say he's clueless, just look at the current state of Ajax. Exactly. And maybe Ten Hag won't be good enough for United. Maybe in the long run, Ten Hag will need to be sacked. You know, maybe. But I just want players gone. I want the board gone before the manager's gone. So I want to give the manager to the end of the season, no matter how bad it gets. And then you sack him at the end of the season if he's still playing this crap football with no progress, no desire. You know, if we give Ten Hag to the end of the season and we finish 12th, but we see the last 2-3 months of the season, Ten Hag starts to implement a style, we start to improve, get a string of results, look better. You go, you know what, Eric? I'm going to let you have free reins in the summer. Tell me who you want to get rid of. We'll get rid of them. Tell me who's the problem. We'll get rid of them. And we'll buy you who you need to buy. That's what I'd say. And if he continues to the end of the season and he continues playing this crap football, then we sack him at the end of the season. But bringing in an interim isn't going to improve United. I don't think one bit bringing in an interim manager is going to improve United. Do you think Darren Fletcher is going to make these players play better than Ten Hag when these players aren't trying? No. Do you think we've got the money to sack Ten Hag and bring in another manager? No. So, you know, we've just got to look at it and go, there's nothing we can do. We've got two options. Sack Ten Hag and have Darren Fletcher to the end of the season, which we don't want to do. Or, you know, keep with Ten Hag and hope he turns it around. And, Ten Hag, seen what he did at Ajax, seen what he did a little bit last season, much more competent manager than Darren Fletcher as well. But unfortunately, I think Ten Hag will be sacked by Christmas. I don't want Ten Hag to be sacked by Christmas, but unfortunately, I think Ten Hag will be sacked by Christmas as well. Anyone non-Man United fans here due to Alice's excellent work on our second channel, top class analysis and knowledge of the Premier League, great videos and opinions. Big up Andrew, big up everybody. Yeah, I've been doing videos on my second channel, less United related. I think my United videos are more like emotional based because I have like that emotional attachment to United and I just talk about news and drama at United. And then my second channel is where I get a little bit more tactical and non-biased. So I actually did a video on the Man United Newcastle game. I didn't come out till 1 a.m. because I needed 2 hours to actually think and relax after the Man United Newcastle game. You know, had a video on Man United Newcastle game, came out on this channel 10 minutes after the game where I'm just ranting. And then 2 hours later, I did a video speaking about what Newcastle did so well. And on my second channel, I do videos about what Liverpool's doing well, Newcastle's doing well, Spurs is doing well, Arsenal's doing well, because everybody is doing well but Man United. So do check out my second channel. It is ECILA Football. It's Alice spelled backwards football, essentially. Because I couldn't think of a name, so I just spelled my name backwards. Football, where I just do general football videos as well. So do go check out the second channel if you're into like Arsenal, Liverpool, just general football content as well. But this is the Man United channel. I don't believe these are Eric Ten Hag's instructions. Surely isn't telling players to pull out challenges, take crazy long shots, and not even physically try. Exactly. I think some of Ten Hag's instructions are wrong. I think this direct long ball counter-attacking game is wrong. But as Alex said here, you know, sure, Ten Hag isn't telling the players to not try. Ten Hag isn't telling the players to take crazy long shots and pull out challenges. These players are choosing to do that because some of them are absolute imbeciles as well. Ten Hag is a coach, not a recruitment expert. A proper sporting director would have never paid 80 million for Anthony and would have found a cheaper alternative in the same style, but he'll be sacked. Exactly. You know, a lot of people's anger at Ten Hag is towards him spending 83 million pound on Anthony. But if we had a proper sporting director, we would have found a right winger that was a similar profile to Anthony for 35 million pounds. And then we would have had that 40 million pounds left to get Kim and Jay and get him that you know, all of that stuff. You know, you've got to look at it like that as well. And you know what? And I'm going to be honest with you guys. Do you remember this when we were calling for Ollie to be sacked? When we were calling for Ollie to be sacked, we were calling for Carrick to be sacked and we were calling for McKenna to be sacked. Carrick is still in the Carabao Cup with Middlesbrough. McKenna is second in the league with Ipswich. When everyone wanted Ollie sacked, they thought Ollie's useless, Carrick's useless, McKenna's useless. McKenna is one of the best up-and-coming coaches in football. Carrick is one of the best, coaches in football right now as well. What he's doing at not Newcastle, Middlesbrough. So if you think that these people at United, if you think that these coaches, these staff at United are incompetent, maybe look at the fact that they've all gone to another club since leaving United. Everyone that was here under Ollie has all gone to another club since leaving United and had mad success. So maybe United's the toxic environment and that actually they ruin good coaches. Maybe there's that. Melissa Reddy's gone into a report saying that Murta has a good relationship with Ten Hag, and it was said that employees enjoyed CEO Richard Arnold's approach of empowering people and departments while creating a happier work environment, but many staff were disillusioned by the Greenwood situation, which has still caused uplift within United as well. TalkSport said that several Man United players were left unimpressed by the lack of downtime afforded by Ten Hag during their summer tour of the USA, leading to the first cracks in the manager-player relationship. TalkSport claiming the high fixture list in pre-season is the reason players started to fall out with Ten Hag. What a load of crap as well. And Xavi said, sadly, I think Ten Hag will be sacked. And sadly, I think that's true. That as well. As soon as the leaks come out, as soon as the briefs come out, as soon as you watch those players not trying, it's the end of the road for the manager. I hate to say that. It's the end of the road for the manager. And I don't want it to be the end of the road for the manager. I want it to be that they finally sack those above Ten Hag. They finally get rid of the players. But sacking the manager, as we discussed earlier, is the easiest option, And we're just such a mess as a club. And they're saying now, there's leaks coming out just now, as this second, that there's leaks coming out now from TalkSport that apparently players were annoyed that Ten Hag made them train too hard in training. Training's too difficult. Pre-season's too intense. That's the excuse now. Several United players unimpressed by the lack of downtime afforded by Ten Hag during their summer tour of the USA, leading to the first cracks in the manager-player relationship. All of a sudden now it's Ten Hag's fault in pre-season. It's Ten Hag's fault in pre-season. Ooh, boo-hoo, these poor overprivileged players pass me the smallest violin ever. I know, it's like they expect us to feel sorry for them. You're on 300 grand a week and you kick a football around and you only get 2 days off a week on pre-season tour to go explore America. Your life must be so hard. It's just so infuriating as well. So infuriating. Cody Gakpo wanted United, but these board didn't get the money. Even Gravenberch would have gone to United over Liverpool if we actually paid the money as well. And for me, the leaks need to stop. I think some people are just making up leaks. To be honest, I wouldn't be surprised if Luckhurst is just making up leaks. But these leaks need to stop. These Man United players have been pampered too much as well. It's all a disgrace. And look, 247 likes. So please do smash the like button, people. And of course, subscribe down below as well. Probably a crazy opinion at the moment, but you can see the talent in Anthony. I'm going to assume he is being coached properly. Will be interesting to see what he does if he's sold. Anthony showed moments last season where he looked quite good and we looked like a better team with Anthony. I watched Anthony in his last 3 months at Ajax and he was a good player, doing patterns of play, linking up with Ajax. Anthony, in a good system and a good structure, was very good at Ajax. There's a reason Ten Hag wanted Anthony because, the way Ajax played, the system and the structure of Ajax, Anthony thrived in that 1-2s, interlinking with players. Anthony was a phenomenal player at Ajax. Was never worth 80 million, but he was very good when he was at Ajax. And he's come to United and he's been crap. And I don't think Anthony's as crap as he's been playing at United. I think it's to do with the system. I think Anthony is a system player, and he's bad because of the system. But, and hopefully he does improve. And hopefully if we can implement a system, he'll get a lot better. So I do see your point. But I just think this club is toxic. Players come to this club and they get worse. Managers come to this club and they get worse. I just feel like we have just become this incredibly toxic club that ruins everything. People thought McKenna and Carrick were the problem. McKenna and Carrick are two of the best managers in the Championship. People thought that this person was the problem or that person was the problem. Bruno's the problem. If we drop Bruno and play good football, okay, Bruno didn't start and we went 3-0 down. Were we playing good football? Absolutely not. Rashford didn't start. Were we much better? No. That's why Bruno and Rashford do start. Do you know what I mean? It's always so much. And look, I am going to wrap up the live stream here. I might be back tonight for a live stream. It depends, as I've got a few things to do later on this evening. But big up everybody that watched the live show. Please do smash that like button on the way out. Of course, subscribe down below if you're new. Thank you for watching. See you next time. Bye.